Okay, so now we've got our hands kind of laid out. We have all of our fingers on here, and we need to actually start kind of filling out the hand and making it look, well, more like a hand. Because right now it looks like this really kind of weird, skinny thing with some fingers on it. We got to do a few things. We're going to have to add in the knuckles. We're going to use edge loops, and we're going to use some more of the cut tool to get that set up. We also need to kind of thicken this thumb up right now. It's really kind of thin. And we're probably going to come in here and do a little bit of cleaning up around the very end here, around these nails, because we have this skin section kind of sticking up. We want to pull that back just a little bit and make it look a little bit cleaner right in there. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Now, I probably won't have you following along with every single thing I do step by step. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the techniques, and then I'll probably pause this and let you work on it on your own, and then I'll come back in after I get mine finished up and kind of show you what it looks like, and then we'll finish off by extending out this back section and kind of shaping the back of the hand to go into the wrist. But I am going to be here for quite a bit of this because we do need to kind of start working on shaping the hand back here. So it's not like I'm just going to kind of throw you out there and say, okay, go. But at some point I am going to probably jump off and let you work on fine-tuning some of this yourself once I show you kind of how to clean up around the nails, how to do a knuckle, put in some of the edge loops and cut loops and things like that. So, all right, so let's go ahead and let me get my head out of the way again. And let's see, that's this one right there. All right, so now I guess the first thing we're going to want to do is, yeah, one of the other things I noticed is when I put this thumb on, I guess we'll start here. We're going to clean up some of this first, and then we'll kind of shape the thumb and get into the cleaning of the fingertips, and then we'll come in and shape the hands. All right, so one of the things I noticed is right in here, remember I kind of stuck a whole bunch of vertices together, did the target weld, and kind of got this kind of, got them to fit in here together so it was all connected, but it kind of left some messiness. And that messiness is going to have to be cleaned up by taking out some of these unneeded edges. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to edge mode. First, I'm going to hit 1 on the keyboard and take off the smoothness. And I'm going to start selecting some of these edges. I don't need this many of them running into the same spot. And we're going to go ahead and take some of these out. So that one, and I'm probably going to do this manually so I can kind of follow it around, see where it goes. All right, so, and that one actually is connected there, so that's not going to be the right one to take off. And it may get a little tricky because there may be some that are actually connected somewhere else. And then I got this weird kind of thing happening here. That might be a good candidate to start with because I'm not sure where that one came from. And yeah, that's probably not going to be one to take out either. And at some point, we may just need to make the decision to do some connections somewhere else. But let's see about this one. All right, so that one I think is going to be okay to remove. I'm not sure what's happening here, so we're going to have to probably put this one back in. So we're going to cut this one out right here. We'll probably have to put another cut back in there because that's just kind of a weird thing to have happening there. So remember to delete edges, Control, Delete. Use the Control button, hit the Delete button so that we get rid of the vertices along with it. Okay, so now I've kind of got this one left hanging out there by itself. And let me see where this one goes. That's here. Yeah. Remember, it heads back down into here. Okay. And I had some of those for the web of the finger there. All right, so for this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this vertex, I'm going to pop it right there, and then I'm going to cut the, then I'm just going to delete the rest of those. I think it'll be okay in the long run. Okay, so right click, I'm going to go to my vertex, grab my target weld tool right here, and I'm just going to connect that together there. And now I'm going to hit Q to quit the tool, right click, go back to my edge. I'm going to select these 3 edges and control delete those out of there. Okay. And it looks like I have kind of a weird thing happening here because of the way I delete that one. You know what? Now I look at that, I think I'm going to control Z and put that back in. I'm also going to remove that from being a target weld. And I'm going to connect this one into that one right there. Okay. So again, go back to my vertex tool, use my edge tool, my cut tool rather. I'm going to select that vertex right there and come down here. And looks like I missed it. So let's try that again. Click that one right there. And click that one there, that vertex. Come on. Hit enter. And make sure it's all connected up. Ooh, got too close. All right. Now let's see what that does when I hit 3 to smooth it. Because this may have been where I was having some issues. But I can now, without those extra ones, I'm going to hit Q to quit my tool. I'm going to hit 3 to smooth it. And that fold that I had happening right back here has disappeared. I do have those 2 vertices right there, which I could pull them apart if I needed to. But we'll pay attention to that here in a minute. Because it's kind of doing this weird puckering up thing right there. But first what we need to do is we kind of need to fill out the rest of the shape of the hand anyway. So we may come back and revisit that one. All right, but that's kind of got a start on it. We kind of cleaned that up a little bit. Really, I only took out just one edge loop, a few edges, but that was about it. The rest of them are kind of needed. All right, so now with that done, the next thing I want to do is I'm going to put in some edge loops across here for where I'm going to put in the knuckle. And, okay, we'll come back to that. Because first one thing I want to do is let's go ahead and I'm going to show you how to do one of these for the fingers. And this is something that you're going to go across and do all of them. I'm going to show you one, and then we'll come back to that, okay? And then I'll let you run on those. I'll show you how to do the edge loop for the knuckles. And also kind of how to flesh out the rest of the hand first. So let's take a look at this. I'm going to hit 1 on the keyboard. And what I want to do is, see how these sharp edges are right here on the very edge. I'm going to select these 3 vertices on this side. And then I'm going to select the same 3 vertices on this side. Hit W on my keyboard to get my move tool. I'm going to push them back just a little bit. Hit 3 on my keyboard to kind of see what that looks like as I'm doing it. I pulled them back a little bit. Okay. Now what I need to do is I need to kind of clean up this point right here. So I'm going to go back to 1 on my keyboard. I'm going to undo, I'm not going to, deselect that one there and that one there. Push them back just a little bit more. So I'm going to hit 3 on my keyboard, see what that looks like. Kind of pulls it back a little bit. Hit 1 again. Now what I want to do is I'm going to select one group at a time. So I'm going to select these 2 here. I'm going to push them down just a little bit. So they're kind of close like that. Hit 3 again, see what it's looking like. It's looking a little better. Maybe pull them back. And let's see here. I think we got to be careful is not to kind of cross these edges and start making things inside out. So I'm going to now select just the very top one. I'm going to push that down, push it back a little bit, hit 3, see what that's doing. Okay, I'm going to grab this one right there, the bottom one. I'm going to pull this out maybe just a little bit. Let's see here. It's really kind of folding under there. Yeah, that's what I was afraid of. Let's go ahead and Control Z, pull that back up a little bit. Grab this one here. All right, I think it's okay there. We'll kind of do that same thing over here. Kind of play around with it until we get the right appearance. Just kind of make it so that it looks like the skin is just coming up right there at the very edge of the nail. If you kind of take a look at your fingertips, it's kind of the look we're getting. It might be a little bit more pronounced here on the very front, but that is something we can kind of play around with by pulling that side one down a little bit more. I go to 1, just kind of make sure I'm not, yeah, that's what I was afraid of. So maybe grab both of these right here to do that. Kind of pull this finger down a little bit, shape. Smooth that shape out at the end of the finger just a little bit. I think that is probably going to be good. All right. So that's kind of something you got to play around with and kind of the approach, mess around with those 3 different ends here. Kind of clean up the sharpness of it just a little bit. And it looks like I may have broken something right there. No, actually it's okay. No, maybe not. Drag that down too far. What did I do there? No, I think it's okay. It's just the way the shadows are on that. Just double check by going to face. Yeah. What is that? Okay, I think we're all right. Okay, so that's the fingertip. Got that kind of working for us now. So let's go ahead and take a look at getting our knuckles set up. And this is kind of similar to what we did here. And oh, that reminds me, the knuckles here on the fingertips as well. When we take a look at them, so if I right click, go to object mode and kind of click off of it, we take a look at the joints here. We've got some skin kind of build up just like on the back of your hand, but they're a little bit closer than they probably should be. I kind of played around with this one and pushed it out a little bit, so it's not quite as pronounced. But on these other ones, you can kind of see if we take a look at it sideways, they're really kind of close together. And what we can do is, I'll do it on this one here. So if we go back to, we'll use edges on this one. So we can go to edges here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Q to quit my tool. I'm going to select the edge that goes across on the outer side here, all the way across, like that. And then I'm going to select the same one on the opposite side, so I have the outer lines selected, these inner lines are left alone. I'm going to hit R on my keyboard, and I'm going to kind of stretch them out a little bit like this and start pulling them apart. Okay, and if we hit 1 on the keyboard, this is what it looks like more. Okay, we're kind of stretching these. We got to be careful about crossing over, which is what I'm doing right there. So I'm going to select those, and I'm going to come back, and now I'm going to select these outer lines too instead, I think. And actually, I'm going to select the same ones I had plus those on the outer, so these outer 2 lines. Okay, now hit R again, and I'm going to stretch them out this way. Okay. If I hit 3 on the keyboard, you can kind of see that that's beginning to stretch that knuckle out a little bit. And you can kind of play around with it a little bit until you get the look that you want. And you can see that it's kind of made that more smooth. It's not as sticking up quite as bad as it was here. So that's a good way to kind of smooth out the joint here, kind of get it a little bit more natural looking instead of so thin like right in here. So again, fingertips, the knuckles or the joints right there, those are things you can fix. We've got the thumb set up. We'll have to do the same thing on the thumb. Oh, okay, before I get to the knuckles on the hand, let's go ahead and kind of plump up this thumb a little bit. I'm going to go with my edge, and I'm going to select all the way down to the end down here because we're going to need to kind of thicken that up as well. I'm just going to hit W on my keyboard and bring down the tool. Now, because of the way we've angled the thumb here, this is more up and down to the world, and what I want to do is try setting it to component so that it's facing in the direction I want to pull it. I'll start to kind of thicken that thumb up by pulling it down a little bit. Now we're doing some weird stuff back here at the back because as I'm pulling on the part to thicken the thumb up, it's also kind of pulling on that. And now the part here on the thumb, I'm going to go ahead and pull this out a little bit, thicken the thumb up that way. And the thumb's really kind of square, so let's kind of round it just a little bit. Oops. Might have to select these manually here because of the curve. Okay, pull this down a little bit. Start to shape the thumb. And do this one along here, all the way back. Sure, I only have that part of the line. We're going to clean all this up in the back as we start to shape the palm and the back part of the thumb here. But I wanted to kind of get the thumb itself more in the shape of what a thumb should look like. And then we can kind of start to play with that back part back there. All right, so now I've got the thumb kind of thickened up a little bit. Looks a little bit better, I think. And you can certainly, of course, play around with it more until you know, get it to look exactly the way you want it to look. Let's see here. That did not grab everything. All right, so I think we've got a little bit going on there. Again, the knuckle will need to be, or the joint here for the top of the thumb may need to be fixed. And this may be too far up, even. It may need to go down just a little bit. So if that's the case, I guess I'll go ahead and show you how to do that. And it may be a little tougher because of the way everything's kind of set up here, with all the different curves and things going on. So I'm just going to double click and try to select as much of this circle as I can as I go along. And it may not select much, so I may have to just keep going in and selecting individual lines So I get everything selected as part of the curve of the thumb. Okay, and if I hit 1 on the keyboard, it'd probably make a lot more sense. Okay, these didn't get selected either. All right. Now I'm going to hit W. And let's see here. Yeah, none of these are really going to probably do what we needed to do. So I'm going to go ahead and select component. See what that does when I start to pull it. And I can kind of push it back and forth. We can also do a custom and make it so that it goes exactly the direction we want it to. But since we're just moving a short distance and we have everything under control, we can just kind of shift it around with the arrows until it's back to where the way it's supposed to be. All right. And it's back further now. So there we go. If I hit 3, I think it's more where it needs to be. Actually, it might need to go back just a little bit further. All right, that's very close if it's not right on where it needs to be. All right, I think I'll go with that spot right there. Okay. All right, so that's done. Now let's go ahead and get that edge loop in. So I'm going to hit 1 on the keyboard again. Right click, go to my object mode, close this tool control thing here. And hold my shift button down, right click, and hit Q on my keyboard for some reason. It's not selecting what I want it to. Hold shift again, right click, and get my edge loop tool. Make sure I have it set to relative distance. And what I'm going to do is I want to put an edge loop right around in here, okay? Kind of back just a little bit because your knuckles aren't right up where your joints, where your fingers kind of connect to the hand. It's a little bit further back. So kind of like right in there. Okay. All right, so that's where I am going to kind of work with getting my knuckles started. We may need to put another edge loop in behind it so we can kind of control the shape of the hand, because if we start to pull this up, it's going to taper all the way back to here. So I'm going to put another edge loop in kind of back just a little bit, kind of behind where the knuckles would be, so I can control kind of how this pops up right in here for these fingers, and then I can start pulling up and thickening the hand and getting the kind of joints looking like the bones are underneath it and everything here. All right, so now I've got 2 edge loops in there. I'm going to hit Q to quit. Close this tool. Now I'm going to get my cut tool out, and just like I did up here, I'm going to make 2 concentric circles for this knuckle right here, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and get the cut tool out. And I'm going to start from this edge here, go here, kind of halfway here, wrong spot, go back down here, go about halfway here, and then close that. And then I'm going to start again. I'm going to go here, I'm going to go a little bit further up, back down to here, a little further up, and then down there. Hit enter to close it. Okay, so that is the setup for the first knuckle. And from here, we're going to do kind of the same thing we did with these. I'm going to go ahead and quit just to demonstrate on this one. You can put them all in at the same time if you want first. Don't forget about the one that goes back here, kind of where your thumb connects into your hand, because that's kind of where the knuckle is for that one. Is right around back here towards the base of your thumb. And now that I look at this, we may need to do something with this web here first. So I'll do that. So don't put the knuckle in here yet. Put them in up here, and then I'm going to show you how to. We're going to do a connection down in here to kind of connect this web in, and then determine where the knuckle for the thumb needs to go. And we may end up taking out this edge loop right here to kind of clean all that up. All right, so let me go ahead and demonstrate this real quick again. So remember, in order to pull these up, I just went to face, select them all, and you can also hold the tab button down or the shift button. Tab might be a little bit better. Hit W, just kind of pull it up a little bit, start to kind of shape that area where that knuckle is going to go. Hit 3 and kind of get a feel for what that's going to look like. And you may need to pull it up a little bit more. You can also grab these individual lines and start to kind of pull it and shape the way that knuckle actually looks. Here on the front, in fact, this vertice, let's see here, pull this back up, pull that towards the world, kind of pulls a little bit more forward like that, at least on my hands. I don't know about yours. And then kind of back here too. So get more of a little sharp kind of point here. All right, and then hit 1, make sure we're not, yeah, see I went over here, drug too far, so on both of those. So that's one of the considerations we need to worry about. So I'm going to grab that, pull that forward a little bit. Pull that back just a little bit. Okay, so go back to 3, and that kind of cleans it up. It doesn't give me that sharpness I had before. All right, and so when you're doing that, make sure you're checking both in the smooth and in the unsmooth modes. Now, let me go ahead and take care of this down in here. So I've got these faces here, and I've got these edges, and what I want to do is right at this point right here. Is that too much of a connection? I think that might be, let's see here, that's 3. Actually, this is not bad, right down in here. But I think I need a little bit more of the skin connection kind of going across here. So what I want to do is I'm going to put an edge loop in back here and an edge loop in back here to kind of line them up. And I'm going to delete some of these faces and connect the vertices, okay? So let's go ahead and do that real quick. Right click, go to my shift mode, close that. Hold shift, right click, grab my edge loop, and I'm going to put one in here and one right across from it, right? Okay, that's not going to quite work the way I had envisioned. I see that now because this has actually been pulled forward. So Control Z on that, we'll undo that. And what I might do instead is use a cut tool. So let's quit that tool, select the cut tool. And if I go in here and hold the Alt button, or Control button rather, yeah, it's going to go that way, not the direction I want it to go. So that's not going to work that way. So we'll just manually cut it in here. Here. I'm going to come down over to here probably. Slowly work my way around. Is it actually cutting there? I don't know if I did that. Let's see here. Guess it didn't want to do it. Close that up, hit enter. Okay, it's kind of ugly, but it worked. right now. All right. So now I'm going to quit the tool, close this again because it keeps popping up. What I want to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to delete these 4 faces right in here. So right click face, select these 4 faces. And delete those. And now right click, go to vertex. I'm going to close this hole by connecting these together. So go back to vertices, get my tool, select it, connect these together for my target weld. Let's see here. What am I doing here? Yeah, okay, so this one goes here. And this one goes there. Okay. And I'm going to have to make a connection there to clean that up. Looks like I broke something. Sure, everything else is looking okay though. Okay, yeah. So let's go ahead and I like it better when things come out nice and clean, but sometimes they don't. We're going to go ahead and get the cut tool back, and I'm going to cut that over to here. Hit enter. Okay. Make sure I don't have anything weird going on the inside. Turn this grid off. So we can turn the grid off by going here. Turn that grid off and kind of see what we got. And that's what I thought. I have this extra kind of vertice just hanging out here. All right. So I'm just going to go ahead and quit this tool, get the target weld, and I'm going to target weld this back down to here. And make sure everything's looking good there. Okay. All right, so just double check to make sure you have triangles and quads. You don't want any n-gons or any weird geometry kind of hanging out there. And I think we're good for right now. So let's go ahead and hit 3 on the keyboard. And looks like I have, from this error here, I'm getting a little bit of a, I have a vertice somewhere. So I'm going to hit Q to quit. I probably have something hanging out that shouldn't be. So let's go ahead and see what that is. All right, so if I go back to 1 and I hit 3 again, yep, definitely have something in my manifold. So let's take a look and see how to fix that, okay? So first we have to be able to find it. So what I like to do is there's this mesh tool right here, okay? And I'm going to use this mesh tool, click on it, and there's this tool called cleanup under mesh. I'm going to hit the little square box here, and I have it selected right here. I'm going to go ahead and click on my edit here. I'm going to reset my settings so they look like what you've got. So right now it says cleanup. So this is if you wanted to clean it up for you. I just want to see what's going on. So I'm going to select this operation right here. Select matching polygons. And then down here, I'm going to select faces with more than 4 sides. I know I've got concave faces. I also want to make sure I don't have any faces with holes. And I'm not worried about non-planar faces right now. So with that, I'm going to hit apply. Okay, and it's going to show me where my error is by highlighting it right there. Okay, and that is one of the errors I was just playing with, so I must have just broken it. Let's take a look. Okay, so this is a 5-sided object. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sides on this. So this is something that we're going to have to fix. And easy way to do it is to just make a triangle out of this one, okay? So I'm going to get my cut tool, go to vertice, and I'm going to select here. I'm going to select down to here. I'm going to hit enter. Okay, and now I've added an additional triangle into that spot. And it's a 4-sided. Now 1, 2, 3, 4 sides, and then 3 sides for a triangle. So I'm going to close that, hit Q to quit my tool, hit 3 again. All right, so I'm still having some geometry issues somewhere. So let's find out what it is. Let's go ahead and go back to 1, mesh, clean up, hit apply, object mode, hit apply. Okay, it's not finding anything. You can see here from those selections I have. So I want 4-sided faces, so I'm not worried about that. Let's pick concave and non-planar and hit apply again. Well, select it first and hit apply. Okay, so and this is because we have a lot of concave objects here, most likely. So hit apply again. No. Non-planar. All right, so yeah. So we're going to go ahead and continue on. I'm not really worried about this. Now, one way to fix this is it would add a lot of triangles in here, and I'm not really wanting to do that at this point in time because I want to continue working with what I have. So I'm going to go ahead and just close that, select off of it, and continue forward. All right. So now, now that I know that I don't have any 5-sided or more n-gons, and I don't have any holes in my geometry, I'm okay with it. All right. So now let's go ahead and start kind of fleshing this out a little bit. I know, actually, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pause and let you put in the rest of the knuckles that we need to do across here. And for the thumb, right in this area is where the where this webbing part of our thumb kind of connects in with our hand, is kind of where that knuckle is going to go. Okay, and probably yeah, we'll go ahead and do that now. We'll go ahead and put the knuckle in. Actually, I'm kind of debating here whether I should just kind of move this thumb out just a little bit and show you the process to do that, so we can kind of get the hand a little bit more in the natural position as we start to. So the thumb is usually kind of out more this direction. So what we want to do is we're going to kind of select that and get the thumb a little bit more in the direction that it needs to be in. Okay, so I'm going to do a face selection. I don't know what happened there. Select all the faces there. I'm going to hit R on my keyboard. Actually, I'm going to hit E on my keyboard. And I want to start to rotate it out. And since it's kind of all funky there, let's go ahead and try to change it to the world. Okay, because I'm going to rotate this in accordance to the world. I'm going to rotate the other direction. And then I'm going to hit W. I'm going to pull it out just a little bit. Hit W. I'm going to hit E again. Rotate it just a little bit this way. A little more. W one more time. And there we go. Start to kind of pull the thumb out. So we get to this kind of space, this kind of like a shape of an L in here with our hand. It's not quite there yet. I might want to pull it out just a little bit more. E again. Make sure I get the right one. Rotate it this way. Getting close. All right. So now with that, all of this will get cleaned up as we start to shape the back of the hand and start to kind of pull this stuff forward first. So let's go ahead and take pause it real quick. Go ahead and put the rest of the knuckles in on the back of your hand here. and also right here in this area by your thumb. This is kind of where the knuckle's going to go in, right in this spot right here, near where the space between your hand is right here. And we may need to kind of push that in just a little bit, but we'll take a look at it here shortly. Yeah. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and pause. Okay, I'm back. So now I've got these knuckles in. I have not done it on the thumb yet because as I was getting ready to do it, I noticed I have a little bit of a geometry issue over here that I want to kind of show you and kind of go over how to fix it. Now, the other thing about the knuckles, though, is these are all nice and straight across. If you take a look at your hand, you'll notice that your knuckles aren't necessarily straight across. So one of the things you can do is you can select them and then kind of move them around to where you need them to go and kind of give that shape that is more probably realistic. Okay, so let me go ahead and just kind of select these real quick again, holding my tab button, then W, and just kind of actually more like that. And this may lead to you needing to, you know, move some other geometry around a little bit as well to kind of get things to fit more naturally. Okay. And there we have it. You can always go back and clean them up a little bit more. But one of the things I want to cover, here it doesn't look so bad. But when I take a look at my geometry in the non-smooth, you can see I have this kind of really bad overlapping with my edges here. The edge. All right, so it looks like it's kind of a crossover with this vertice here. These are things I needed to kind of start moving around anyway. Okay. All right, I think that's kind of clean that up a little bit. And now what I need to do is kind of start shaping things a little bit better. Okay, so let's go ahead and I'm going to pause again. I'm going to put that knuckle in right here. And yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Then we may come back and have to revisit fixing this as we start to kind of expand our hand and start shaping things correctly. But we'll see where that takes us. Okay, so I'm going to pause. I'm going to put my knuckle in right in here, and we'll be back. Okay, so now we're back, and we're getting ready to go ahead and fill in this, kind of start shaping the hand itself. We've got all of our fingers done, I believe. Knuckles in, knuckles down here on our thumb, which we'll come back and kind of fix this as we start to shape the rest of the hand. But the biggest thing is we got to start kind of thickening it up a little bit, right? So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to grab the face back here. So I'm going to go to 1 on my keyboard. I'm going to grab these faces right across the top up here and kind of start to pull it up a little bit. So I'm going to right click, select face, hold down my tab button, and just kind of start going across all of this. I'm going to selection on all of it, all the way out. Let's see how that looks. Missed a couple, it looks like. I'm just going to go ahead and hit W. Why is it all the way up there? It should be in the middle. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and kind of pull up a little bit. Start to pull this up. Ah, that's why it's doing that. Trying to figure out why, and it looks like I hadn't deselected this last piece right here. So let's go ahead and deselect that. Go back to face. Hopefully everything's still selected back here. There we go. Let's go ahead and start to pull this up just a little bit. And okay. Gonna look a little better back there. Let's go ahead and start to pull the side of this hand out and get it shaped a little bit. So I'm gonna go to my edge mode here. I'm gonna select these edges here. Start to push it out a little bit. And then select this one as well. That row along there. Start to pull it out a little bit. Hit 3 on my keyboard so I can kind of see what it's beginning to look like. And the hand should come a little bit more out like that right there. It kind of starts to taper back in back here, so I'm going to deselect these. Something more like that. That might be a little bit too much of the top. Here. So I'm just going to select these here. Pull that back in just a little bit. All right, so we're going to start getting that shaped in here. Let's see. All right, so here we need to kind of play around with the height on those. We also need to kind of clean this area back up in here because we have this kind of thing happening here. But I think let's go ahead and work on the palm just a minute. Still trying to get the thickness of everything kind of set up. We also need to pull this out. So maybe we'll do this first. And pull that up. Start to we don't really have a lot of material to work with here. Oh, there it is right there. That's what I'm looking for. Deselect these. Pull this up more. Ah. There we go. Start shaping this a little bit better. Okay. Also feel like we gotta do something more with this thumb. It's just kind of hanging out there. Too vertical. Too horizontal, I mean. So let's go ahead and grab this thumb. That kind of start to actually probably want to rotate it down a little bit more like that. Let's see, more like that. Let's see here. Okay, let's deselect this in here. If you kind of grab between the lines on this globe, the little rotator tool that pops up, you can move it at a different different angle than the 90 degrees that are given by the major lines. All right, I think we're getting that to the right shape. Now we just kind of flesh in the rest of it and it'll make it look more natural. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to grab that face, that one. So let's do first. Start pulling it down. Now this one. I'm going to need to grab that edge once I get that where I want that. Okay. All right. Oops. Wrong button. Okay. Yeah, we'll have to clean that up. At this point, you just kind of start grabbing the edges, the vertices, whatever you need to do to kind of start getting the shape that you want. Sometimes you got to quit that tool and then bring it back up after you can get the vertices you need. As you start to kind of shape things. And here I'm having an issue. I can see that this edge right here, this vertice, I pulled something through, so it's kind of messing me up. There we go. That's one of the hazards of trying to work in just the smooth mode, is you start to kind of pull things where they don't belong. All right, so this is kind of the method. I mean, basically, you're going to start kind of shaping and sculpting the hand to get it to look a little bit more natural. And don't forget, the hand kind of has this kind of a curve that goes up and around, kind of like this. So a little bit of a kind of a curved section here. So you need to start kind of pulling these faces up and these edges and these vertices to kind of thicken this back section of the hand up. And being careful not to pull things across each other like I did down here. And if you do, you always got to kind of go back and start straightening things out a little bit. And it looks like I've really managed to mess this section up back here. So I'm going to pause while I fix that, because I can see what I've done is I folded it over, pulled things up. And I'm going to go ahead and start kind of fleshing this out a little bit. I'm going to pause for now, and I'm going to do all of that. I'm going to go ahead and get my hand shaped the way that it needs to be shaped, and I'm going to let you do the same thing. Just kind of go a little bit at a time. The good method is to kind of start at one side and kind of work towards the other, and kind of do it slowly, and sometimes from front to back, since we already kind of have the fingers doing what we want them to do. And wow, I really managed to mess some things up here. All right, so and keeping an eye on going back and forth between 1 and 3 to make sure your smoothness isn't messing up and causing these foldovers like I have back here. Okay, and just kind of go slowly. Just check it out, make sure you're working good. And I'm going to go ahead and pause. Okay, so I've gone ahead and kind of moved everything around and filled out the hand quite a bit. I've pulled things by using faces, edges, and vertices to kind of shape the hand. Pulled things up here. One thing I did do was I started to eliminating some of the edges by using the target weld tool, and made it so that I have just this one single piece that goes between the fingers here, which I could probably still clean up and make those a little bit better in there for the finger. And then I also, over here on the thumb, towards the back of the thumb, combined a lot of the ends so that they kind of came in nice and neat, and kind of cleaned up this back section back here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing for the rest of this in here, so that it's a little bit easier to extrude this, and I don't have all these faces I have to worry about. But it'll also kind of help clean it up for later on when we need to maybe use this hand and connect it to a body or something like that. So we could combine these here at this point on all of these back sections here. So what I'm going to do is use a target weld tool, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of connect these together here. And that was my bad. I have this one selected over here. You got to make sure you don't do that. Okay, so here at the back, I'm going to connect these like this. That's sort of what I did with the thumb. You can kind of see that over here. And then I went down the back side here and cleaned all that up. All right, so that's something you can take a look at your hand, start kind of bringing things down towards the end here, and start combining them in so we can minimize the amount of geometry that we have. We don't need to have all this extra geometry. And we're also trying to set things up to pull the wrist out of this section back here. So I'm going to go ahead and pause again and let you work on that, and I'm going to finish that up myself. Okay, I'm back. So I finished that up, so you can see that along the top of the hand I have these 3 lines that kind of go into the lower section of the hand, and also on the palm of the hand here. So quit that tool. So when I hit 3, you kind of see how the curve of the hand starts taking effect. We've got the thumb, so that the thumb kind of comes back right in here and meets right just above the wrist, where we're going to pull out for the wrist. And probably could do a little bit more tapering here at the back. Instead of using edges, let's go ahead and use face, because I want to pull in all of this. It's probably quicker to pull this in anyway by using my tab button and then just selecting all the face pieces I want. And this will lead into what we're going to do afterwards, which is going to be to extrude it. So let's go ahead and just get all that selected there. And now I'm just going to go ahead and kind of start to pull that in a little bit. If I hit 3 on the keyboard, you can kind of start to see the way it's shaping in. I'll probably need to fix this here, because it looks like I pulled this all the way in down here. Probably, yeah, I did. So it's basically, when we smooth it, it takes into account where this is here. So I'm going to need to probably put an additional edge loop in here to fix that. So if you're running a similar issue, let's go ahead and take care of that real quick. So I'm going to put one more piece of geometry across back here. So I'm going to go to object mode. Make sure I'm in the one. Right click. Okay, so hit quit again. There we go. Get my insert edge loop tool, and let's see if it's going to work. It's not going to, because the way we have this is the way we've got these triangles. It's not going to edge loop across the triangles. So I'm going to go ahead and quit that tool, and instead of using a full-on edge loop, what we're going to do is we're going to use a cut tool, and I'm going to go from this section here across here down to here, and then back up to this vertex here. Hit enter. Okay. And that's going to require me to probably come back in and play around with this shape just a little bit, but we'll see. All right, so I'm going to quit that, hit 3 now, see what that's kind of done. Yeah. So I'll have to come in and fix this, but that'll do on the side. Basically, I'll just push the edges in, kind of smooth this area out. But what I really wanted to do was to push this back so I wasn't having my whole section be set up so I couldn't fix this. All right, so now I'm going to go back to 1, select these faces again. So go back to my face mode and hold my tab button down and select all of these. And there we go. R, start to pull this in just a little bit. 3 on the keyboard. Okay, so now got a pretty decent shape on my hand. Like I said, this is going to be something I'm going to have to fix. And it'll probably be easier to do that right now. So what I could do is, let's go to vertice here. I think I might want to just combine these in here. Into this one point here. That gives me this nice kind of clean geometry there. And if I quit that tool, still gives me kind of this pronounced section right here. I may need to do something similar, put another cut tool right across here, just to kind of fix this geometry on this. Yeah. Quit that tool, and we're going to do that one more time. We're going to do this target weld tool. I'm going to target weld this in. That middle point right there. Kind of connect all that. Now that pushes that back to where I want it. There we go. Kind of clean that up a little bit. And now we have a section here. If we want to, we can use this edge and these vertices to kind of shape this section of the palm a little bit better as well. By doing that, we have to reshape this section right in here. So I have these vertices I didn't have 4 there. Shoot, I hit the wrong buttons. That's why. All right, so kind of play around with that a little bit. Now let's go ahead and get this wrist pulled out of here. So I'm going to right click, go back to my face mode here, and again, one more time, select all these. A little more complicated than it needed to be. All right, and this section, let's see how this works. I'm not sure it's going to extrude exactly the way I want to. So Control E to extrude, and I'm going to pull this back this way. It actually kind of came out nice. All right. Oh, how did I do that? Got a little carried away with my selections down here, it looks like. Okay, so make sure Control Z all the way back out of that so we don't. So I see. Okay, there it is. See. Right here, again, I had my, oh my goodness. Okay, let's go back to face mode. Make sure I don't have things selected. I don't have selected, for whatever reason. All right, so using my tab button again. I think it's gonna come out okay though. Hopefully yours didn't do that. And Control E again. Okay, make sure I don't have something else selected. It's not supposed to be. Pull this back. Give me a little bit of a wrist. Okay, and go ahead and quit the tool. I'm going to go ahead and hit 3, kind of see what that looks like. Not too bad, but kind of got this section hanging down over here. So let's see here. If I go back to 1, and it's because this vertex right in here. Pull this one up. Kind of more like that. Kind of give it more of a rounded appearance. And then hit 3 again. Okay. All right, so now I definitely want to have a division between my palm and my wrist back here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put an edge loop in right across here, okay? So go to object mode, make sure I quit everything, hold the shift button down, and clearly I did not. There we go. Okay. Put an edge loop in right about there. Quit it, hit 3. There we go. Now, I think what we're going to need to do, take a look at your hand. You have this kind of a fleshy area that builds up right here at the bottom, and then your wrist kind of breaks down into here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab that edge loop, hit W, push it back, kind of give me that section where I can build my palm up and kind of shape my palm right into here. And then we may probably need to put another edge loop in to control the way this is going to taper off, because I want to build this section up, but I don't want it to kind of taper all the way out to here, if that makes sense. So right click again, object mode, edge loop. I'm going to put an edge loop in right around here. Okay. Now I'm going to go to my edge. I'm going to quit that tool. And actually I'm going to go to vertices. I'm going to grab some vertices right in here. And you know what? No. Let's go back to edge. I'm going to grab this middle one here, hit W. I'm going to pull this back. Kind of give this section of my palm. And then I'm also going to go to my face mode, hold my tab button, or first I'm going to click on one to make sure I don't have something else selected. Hold tab, go across this way, push down just a little bit, kind of give me this bump out from my palm. Hit 3, see what that looks like. Okay. And I think that's a good start. All right, so I'm going to call that quits for the hands. I think, you know, you can play around with it and kind of come up with a little bit more detailing on it just by playing around, shaping the hand some more until it gets to be the way you like it. But you kind of see the thought process and the way of shaping using vertices and edges and faces to get the things you want, adding edge loops and cuts, cut tools to be able to get the geometry you need to be able to shape those certain parts of the hand. And, you know, even selecting sections and doing more tapering to be able to kind of get the effect you want. So like here, maybe this might need to be tapered in just a little bit, kind of give it that more of a distinct wrist look. And maybe even grabbing it here on either side. Just kind of pushing it in a little bit more. Just to give that definition between the different parts of the hand. And then kind of getting in there with the vertices a little bit. Now be careful when you are moving edges and vertices, faces around in the smooth section. Again, I keep saying this, but just double check to make sure you're not creating any overlaps. So you're basically reversing your geometry as you're doing that in your one mode. So go back into the non-smooth mode and make sure that you're not, like I said, overlapping. That'd be not a good thing. And you know, you don't have to make things nice and straight. You know, there's are ways of grabbing different parts of geometry, kind of bending it around a little bit to go for add the detail into the hand that you need to as you're moving along to give it some better appearance. All right, so again, leave the rest of it up to you to get your detailing in, kind of play around with it. Just takes practice, keep working with it, and you're gonna kind of get it set up the way you want. Okay, so that's really it for modeling of the hands. You can certainly get it more detailed. I think maybe I've got the thumb too far out, but you saw how to do that. You can grab it, push it in, get a little bit more realistic looking. And I think, yeah, basically this area right here is probably too far out. And those are just things that you're just going to have to kind of play with and keep looking at your own hand and keep moving through and finding the detail, the methods for getting the details that you want. Okay, and it just over time you'll get better and you'll make your hand better as well. So next time what we're going to do is, and I know this was a very long section modeling the hand, but a lot of detail goes into this, and I've been talking a lot, trying to talk through the thought process, and you see me make mistakes and go back and fix them, and the reasons why I'm doing those. And those are things that you as a new modeler are probably going to run across too, and seeing somebody else doing it has always been useful for me, seeing their thought process, sitting and watching them do it. So hopefully this was useful for you. I know it's a long video. I apologize for that long process to make this hand. Next time what we're going to do is we're going to cut this hand so that we make the UVs. So we're going to cut UVs, and that's hand, believe it or not, even though modeling it is pretty complicated, the UV process probably is not going to take us that long, getting our material set up. And then we're going to take it and we're going to put it into Quixel and put some texturing on it. And so that we can kind of give it a little bit more of a realistic fleshy look as opposed to what you saw at the very beginning where I just threw some materials on the hand and kind of made it colored like a hand. We're actually going to do some texturing in Quixel to get that all set up. And then the next step will be bringing it back here in Maya and putting some bones in it so that we can flesh it out and basically rig it up and do a little bit of animation with it. Ultimately, you can, through these processes, as we make the hands, there'll be other videos that I'll come up with for the foot and for making the body and eventually a head, hopefully, so that we have a complete person that will then rig completely and ultimately maybe use that as a character in a video game or something like that. We'll put it back in Unreal Engine, kind of see how that works. All right, so hopefully this worked out for you. If you want to check out some of my other stuff, you can check me out here at Putting on the Fritz 3D Visualization, and check out some of the other stuff I have on Unreal Engine and some other Maya projects. Catch up on some other projects that I've been working on. And if you like what you saw, please like this video and please subscribe. I'll see you next time.